We are John and Ellie, the Barefoot Doctors. Join us on this new chapter on our brand new Leopard 45 catamaran as we unearth the jewels of the Med. And the world. Because life is better barefoot. We sail from Massanagio to Bastia, and I must say I was quite relieved to see the safe harbour at Massanagio. A tight squeeze, but that's mooring in the Med for you.
So here you see the classic Med mooring style with the stern lines tied to the dock, and the bows are tied with lines that are provided by the marina that go to concrete blocks in the water. Some marinas do require you to drop your anchor to provide that forward security.
Expedition Barefoot all secured in the marina, it was time to go to explore Macinaggio. To my surprise, it wasn't just a safe harbour, but actually had cute little restaurants and cafes along the strip. And of course, we like to sample the local coffee and to support the local town wherever we go. Once we've done a round of the town, we head back to Expedition Barefoot, safely tied up. It's nice to be home. Tell us why the front cockpit is so good.
Well, today we're anchored in, we're moored in this marina. The stern is on the dock facing both the setting sun and the howling gale.
And passers by.
So we just came to the forward cockpit and we're in the shade. We're in complete protection from, not complete protection, but mostly protection from the wind. And it's lovely.
It's very civilised, I would say.
Very civilised. Right. And the wind at the moment is about 25, blowing 35 knots.
So,
front cockpit.
Thumbs up.
We do love our front cockpit.
We do love our front cockpit. It's a pretty rocky old night, and despite the protection of the marina, there's a lot going on, and I'm really happy that we managed to get a spot in the safety of the marina. The sounds were quite deafening actually, with the slapping of the waves on the hulls, the halyards thwacking throughout the marina, and the howling wind. And did I happen to mention the woo-woo wind?
The next morning we get ready to go, and there is still a brisk wind from the stern. Because we're being blown off the pontoon, we drop the bow lines first, and then when the engines are ready, we let off the stern lines.
Hang on! No! Not clear on starboard.
Our biggest challenge here is this huge super yacht that is making the passage out very narrow.
All right.
Clear there?
Yeah, you clear.
Including the mooring line.
Including the line.
Especially when you consider the mooring lines that are going diagonally outwards from all of the boats.
Okay, you got 4. You got about 4 meters.
Okay. You have the same on this side.
You're about even.
After a few nervous minutes and keeping close attention to where the boats are, we make it through safely. Goodbye, Massanagio! We hoist the main in anticipation of a good sail. The increased confidence of the boat's abilities because how it handled the 35-knot storm so well. Within an hour of leaving, the wind died and we then motor sailed the rest of the way. We sailed down a pretty coast with a few small towns along the way, certainly none big enough to take a 45-foot catamaran.
Wow. The color of the water is
fish today. What are we doing, Captain?
We're just approaching Bastia. So this is an exit or an entry and exit port. So we are going to be using Bastia as our checking out place for going to Italy via Alba, which is Italy. So we check out here probably tomorrow and then sail to Alba the next day, hopefully, and weather being, depending on weather of course, and we'll see how we go. But Bastia is an old, very old established town that's very much like Italy itself actually, because this was taken over by the Italians or the Genoa people when they ran the whole area. So this apparently looks very much like Italy rather than France. So interesting. A little bit of Italy in France.
Nice.
We arrived in Bastia around lunchtime, so again we got no answer from the port captain's office. We drove into the marina to have a look around, but with nothing to see, we picked up a mooring ball to wait until the captainary gave us some directions. We relaxed and had our lunch. After 2 p.m. we were allocated a berth, and the staff were helpful in taking our lines and orientating us with where everything was. We were berthed right alongside the customs ship, which is quite ironic, as you will see later.
What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah. More fast.
Whoa!
So you tie your other line to that.
And then you pull it through, right?
Yeah. If you've got a little rope and a big rope and you want to tie the two together, you basically, you do a loop, you just take it round and you pull that back through. So it's just a half hitch. And that works phenomenally well. You can actually use this to tie the corner of a sheet or a tarpaulin. So if you have a bit of material, your material like this, run your rope up there around the other side and you do a half hitch, that'll hold.
Oh, really?
That's why it's called a sheet bend,
Wow.
because it's to tie the corner of sheets.
And is that how they did the original
Sails?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I'm going to say yes, because it sounds romantic.
but it's only a half hitch. Like, it's such a simple knot. You just got to get your head around creating something to tie it to. You know what I mean?
It's just a loop.
You just create a loop in the material, and then you
thread a loop through it.
You then
You go through it and
around the back, and a half hitch. That is just a half hitch.
And
And it
doesn't
kind of
uncount?
compresses.
Doesn't
Wow.
undo.
The tighter you pull, the more it compresses.
You can do a second half hitch on it if you want.
It's a beautiful day here in Bastia, and that's Expedition Barefoot right there, and right up the pole there in the bosun's chair is David, and John's got him up there to untangle the halyard for the code 0 because it was all twisted and cobbled up. So because we leave tomorrow, we want to make sure that it's all right so that we can use it. So looks like he's hanging on for grim death. David's learning the way of the sailors. It's all fun and games until you have to go up the mast.
Okay, so with David going up the mast, this is quite a good time to talk about how to get up the mast and all the things, all the options and how to do it. So first of all, how do you go up there? Well, you've either got to get a bosun's chair or a climbing harness. Now, we got a climbing harness just because they were available. There's some advantages of either. But the climbing harness certainly ties in tight with straps around your thighs, and you cannot fall out of this. Bosun's chair, you're not actually strapped in, but it is very secure still, and it's a bit more comfortable. The bosun's chair has a flat area that you sit on, whereas this is basically holding you up with straps. After a period of time, the thigh straps can become a bit constrictive on your legs. So the climbing harness is a big strap for the waist and 2 straps for your thigh. So you step into it, pull it up, and then tighten up these thigh straps. If you're going to use a climbing harness, remember that the thigh straps need to be around your thigh and not up in your crotch, otherwise you're going to get a little bit painful in sensitive areas. And it also, being a little bit further away, it gives you more balance, because when you're going up the mast, your weight's being taken basically here and there, and your bottom sticking down. You've got an attachment here. I actually prefer to put my rope through both these separate clips so that the weight is being taken by more pieces of the harness, and if that broke, I'm still not going to be falling. The other thing with the climbing harness is they've got all these little loops, and on the bosun's chair you also have a bag for carrying things. If you're going up the mast with tools, you need to make sure that if they slip out of your fingers, they don't fall all the way to damage the boat or somebody's head or fall in the sea. So you always tie them on with a rope so that you can let them go and use them as you need them, or have a little bag that is also tied on, and then pull your tools out and use them up at the top of the mast. Also, when going up the mast, always use gloves and shoes, because the mast, the metal, the shrouds is all very rough on your feet. We always have 2 lines attached in case the one line breaks. The primary line is always going to be a halyard, like the main halyard or the spinnaker halyard. In this case, we are fixing the spinnaker halyard, so it has to be the main halyard, and we have a second line that attaches to the mast. So if your primary line breaks, you've got a safety line that's going to stop you from falling. As you're going up the mast, if you have the person at the bottom grinding you up with a winch, but it's much better if you can help pull yourself up by both pulling yourself up with your hands and using your legs to push yourself up when you do have footholds, because the guy at the bottom of the mast or the girl at the bottom of the mast is going to be working very hard to get you up. The person who's down on the bottom has to be there all the time, because if something goes wrong or if the person wants to get off, they need to be able to communicate. So don't just wander off and make a cup of tea. Or if you are the person on the controls at the bottom, when the person's coming down, it is really horrible if you let the rope out in like that. So let the rope out on the winch with several turns around the winch, and then feed it out very smoothly. If you're getting jolts and jerks, then take one of the turns off the winch, but make sure it still doesn't take much weight for you to hold it, because at this stage there are no winches. You are it. You're holding the person's life in your hands, and obviously make sure you don't let that rope go. Just a small thing for the person who's up the mast: if you go up the mast and you're coming back down, just make sure you come down in the correct way. So if this is the main halyard, make sure you stay inside the jack stays, or don't go around the front of the mast. Otherwise what you'll find is your halyard gets twisted around the wrong way, and you're going to have to go back up the mast to fix it. So hopefully that's been useful for everybody. Very quick info on what to do going up the mast. Okay, so let's see how David handles it. So we're going to use this. This will be your primary line.
So this one will be the one.
So this is the one taking the weight. This is going to be the spare line. So as you go up, you just hold yourself against these. You usually don't need to hold this, but just use your feet up these and your hands up the mast, yeah?
Okay, but there's not a lot of handholds or footholds, but I can put them in any of those spots. It won't.
Yeah, I mean,
it won't damage anything.
Yeah, no.
Cool.
I mean, obviously you can also hold the mast.
Yeah.
Where you don't have a shroud, just hold the mast to hold yourself in.
Yeah, I gotcha.
The mast does curve a little bit out. So.
Yep.
But once you get higher up, there are more handholds.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Let's hope I don't hit the lazy jacks.
The lazy jacks won't be a problem. They're soft. And then of course, just tell me if you want to stop or go. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then when you get to the top, I'll lock it off at the bottom.
Okay.
Put the cleat. It's going to be on 2 cleats anyway. But I'll then go to the front and you can unwrap it.
Okay. Did it untwist at all? No.
The halyard is tied just above the Genoa fitting directly to the mast, and this is the knot that had to be undone for us to untangle all these awful twists. This job actually took us about 3 hours in total. Having untied it, we could now unravel the twists completely and then rerun it, retie it at the top, and Bob's your uncle.
Right folks, well we're in Corsica, we're in Bastia, and we're trying to check out of Bastia before we cross over to Elba, which is technically is Italy. So we're just trying to find where we check out, because it's not easy.
It's not marked, they don't seem to have offices. The captainary, the port captain said he phoned somebody at the police and they said we don't need to check out, but it just seems very against all standards. We have no check-in papers for France. We're now leaving France without any stample to leave, so a concern. So we're trying to find customs. Hotel de Douanes de Bastia. So this is the hotel of customs.
Looks like we might have to put a code in or something to get in.
Wow.
Telephone number?
For lunchtime hunt, but
I know. So I said, it looks like they've gone to lunch already.
11:43.
They're not answering.
No answer. Dis encore, parlez lentement parce que je ne parle très bien français. Nous cherchons le bureau pour douane pour partir français en Italie parce que nous avons un bateau. Oh, hang on, 09, oui. C'est hotel de douane de Bastia et l'homme ici dit c'est pas nécessaire pour faire stamp pour aller à Italie. Est-ce que c'est nécessaire pour faire la documentation pour partir français, soit pas?
Pour un bateau?
Oui, privé, un bateau privé.
Alors, une station. Excuse me, I speak a little English.
Okay.
What is it? If crew members need a visa, it's police or frontier. For the customs, we don't sign any documents.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So,
Okay, thank you very much, Captain.
okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, so turns out we don't need documentation to leave Corsica. We can just go.
That's what the lady said.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens on the other side when we get to Elba, Italy.
Yeah.
Bastia is a city on the island of Corsica. There's bars and restaurants that line the old port, and they embrace the style of the old times long past. Of course, you have to sample the local coffee on the street, and the ice creameries are a must. The local ice creams are so delicious, and that's what they're famous for. John and I always have a competition as to who orders the best ice cream, and I would have to say this time he took out the prize. Fortunately for me, he's a good sharer. Behind the old port is a thriving metropolis, but I must say the port is actually a highlight, with beautiful churches that are very well preserved, and I think you can always tell a lot about how well the churches and the city are preserved, especially the exquisite artwork. There is something really lovely about sitting aboard your boat in a marina and watching the sunset on another day and watching the nightlife begin. Tomorrow, we set sail again, so join us on another adventure. We hope you've liked this episode. So, kick off your shoes and come barefoot with us.